Buenas, buenas. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Christina Kerr, founder of the Castaway Kitchen, author of Made Whole. I made homemade simple cookbooks right here. If you don't know that much about me or my blog, I have a whole food, paleo, very keto AIP blended in there food blog and my cookbooks as well. Both have been centered around lower carb paleo recipes. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner. We're big on ancestral health. I'm Cuban American. I am a former restaurant chef, military spouse, and a mother. And I have reversed, or not reversed, put my autoimmune disease in remission. You can't really reverse it, you can put it in remission through diet and lifestyle. And that is why I do what I do to help other people achieve the same thing. The number one goal with my blog has always been healing, food as medicine, healing through real food, helping people manage chronic symptoms, specifically of autoimmune disease, through dietary interventions, and making those taste really good. Because as a chef, I can create, even with limited ingredients, really good recipes. Along the way, though, I did lose some weight, and not gonna lie, of course, it's always a big thing, and a lot of people out there want to lose weight. And then, as a nutritional therapy practitioner, I've definitely helped a lot of people achieve that. Who use my books lose weight. So that has been a secondary narrative to my work. Um, and I wanted to talk. I'm bringing that up because in this conversation of why I started eating breakfast again, if I'm being truly honest, the reason I stopped eating breakfast and started intermittent fasting was to lose weight. I was pretty much already in remission with my autoimmune disease. I was feeling really good. And then I decided to kind of amp up that keto and put in some intermittent fasting in there, for the autophagy, for the weight loss, workout fasted in the morning. I would do that. And it worked for a very long time. I don't think there's anything wrong with intermittent fasting or that it's bad for you. I wrote it into both of my books. Um, I found it a very useful tool for me for many reasons, especially with someone with a history of kind of binge eating and whose hunger signals were a little wonky. Fasting definitely helped me um, recognize what my true hunger signals were. But I think that there's this nuanced conversation that's people kind of some people do, especially women talk about it, but it's not the main conversation when it comes to fasting because people get very defensive about it. Um, so there's a lot of like science we like to throw about like how fasting works and it's amazing and it's da da da. It is cool. People have been doing it for centuries. I think it can be totally safe. However, that asterisk, which I do when I talk about it in my book, I do mention this. If you are super stressed out, fasting is probably going to make it worse. And like most people, I don't always listen to my own advice. So I felt, I wrote two books back to back. We moved from Hawaii to Virginia. I started writing my second book. I started going to nutrition school, finished nutrition school, launched my second book. Um, my husband, oh, COVID hit. Oh, we built a house. We signed, mortgage, all that for start building a house. COVID hit. My husband deployed. My son was out of school. 2020 happened, and I just found myself, my body completely betraying me. Everything that had worked for years stopped working. Low carb wasn't making me feel great anymore. Fasting wasn't making me feel great. I mean, it would short term, but I was crashing. I was crashing after workouts. My sleep was suffering. Although I had changed nothing in my habits, I was gaining weight and I couldn't explain it. And so I decided to, you know, just stop everything because I knew it was stress. I know how it works. This is what I do for a living. This is the advice I give to the clients that I work with. When you are super stressed out and your body's pumping out cortisol, your insulin, you're going to have blood sugar dysregulation, doesn't matter what you eat. And less isn't always more. I know that that's really hard for people to understand, but it's not always like stress is going to spike your blood sugar more than a sweet potato. And sometimes you just need that quick energy. If you're really tired all the time and you're feeling fatigued, sometimes it's going to help to have that faster energy, especially when you're just changing everything around. So what I started doing was I started transitioning very slowly to a traditional paleo template, adding in starchy vegetables and fruit on a daily basis. Um, but slowly, very slowly, because I've been low carb for so long. But with that, I started eating breakfast again, and I gave up caffeine in January. I went decaf, and I realized when I drank less coffee, I was hungry in the morning. Part of the reason I could fast in the mornings is I was drinking about 2 cups of coffee and sometimes adding like collagen and MCT. So I started I would just drink like one small cup of coffee decaf with cashew milk, and then I had breakfast. And I've been eating about 3 meals a day. Sometimes have snacks too, depending on what I'm eating or how lean my meals are. If they're leaner, I tend to have more snacks. If they're fattier, I eat less snacks. But it's okay to say I've changed things. If you've been with my blog since the beginning, not just my keto days, my blog started out as a paleo blog. I did Whole 30, I did the autoimmune protocol, I did another Whole 30, and then I started reintroducing foods, and then I did little FODMAP for a while, not FODMAPs, like a SIBO protocol, like specific carbohydrate where I wasn't eating like starchy vegetables, but I would eat butternut squash. And then that's around the time where I felt like my weight loss stall. And I felt like I wasn't feeling great back then, but I still had underlying conditions which I hadn't resolved yet. I still had some dysbiosis going on in my gut, which is probably why I did so well with low carb, because when you're doing low carb, you're starving out opportunistic bacteria in your gut. And keto was great for me. I had mental clarity. I mean, I had energy. It really was. I mean, my body transformed. I remember I didn't lose it. I lost 60 pounds doing paleo, but like the last 10 I lost on keto, but I gained muscle while still, losing fat. And my body, I remember, just like really tightened up and looked amazing. And I was able to maintain without restricting, just not really. I didn't feel restricted or hungry. I didn't feel like fasting was hard. I would do my fasted workouts, and then I'd have a lunch, and then I'd have like a snack, and then I'd have dinner. That was just like life for me. But it worked until it didn't, and it's okay. I'm not here saying like it's okay if I want to say this because I know it happens to other people. It just stopped working. And I know it stopped working because I stopped sleeping well. I stopped having good, healthy bowel movements. I stopped having energy, and I started gaining weight, although I wasn't changing anything in my diet. And so, after doing extensive blood work, and testing my gut, I did I it was just very apparent that my issue was stress. And all these things, keto's a hermetic stress, working out is a hermetic stress, fasting's a hermetic stress. They're positive stressors, but they're still stressors on the body. And when my body was just freaking out because of all the other stressors, book launches, COVID, deployments, house building, homeschooling, blah, 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 it was all too much. So it's been about 5 months of reintroducing carbohydrates. And in that time, I didn't amp up my workouts. I was just walking. I started sleeping better. Um, I realized though that because I had kind of addressed all my gut issues, I've been able to add in a lot of foods without freaking out. Like I don't get mood swings or energy dips adding in carbohydrates. I don't have bloating. My digestion's really great. So that's a testament that I was able to repair, my blood sugar dysregulation and gut issues, um, with kind of this approach. So actually, I wrote about it in my second book, the healing from the inside out, the optimizing digestion and blood sugar regulation and fatty acid balance. And I was able to reintroduce, and I did eat, and I'm still eating occasionally. I still believe in the paleo template, but grains. I mean, some gluten-free oatmeal, some wild rice, even some legumes if they're soaked and pressure cooked. And for me, that's nice to have that kind of freedom because again, I just had that moment where I said, I'm not going to do any kind of diet. I'm done. I can't choose happiness. I can't choose joy and relaxation if I'm focused on restriction to any end. So I don't eat my trigger foods. I don't eat gluten. I don't eat dairy. I don't eat nightshades. I don't eat a ton of sugar. I just, I'm still sticking to whole healthy foods, and mostly paleo is just what I like. But otherwise, I'm not saying no to things unnecessarily. And part of that was eating breakfast. And I've been eating a wide array of breakfasts. Some of them are turkey bacon with sweet potato hash and eggs. Others are plantain pancakes or grain free granola with yogurt. Some days I'll do an egg in a nest with gluten-free bread or paleo bread. It depends on what I have. And it's been really nice. And what's interesting is that no, I'm not losing weight, but I'm not gaining weight. My body's not blowing up, you know? I've just maintained instead of kind of like where I was like, felt like I was just climbing for no reason. I'm just kind of, you know, I have now added back in slowly workouts where I'm weightlifting again. I'm doing a little more high intensity at the gym because I really do like working out. And I'm gonna ride this out. And I know I'm gonna get a bunch of questions about the specifics here, but listen, people, bio individuality, right? There are people who need to go low carb to get better, especially if you have diabetes or a diagnosed metabolic issue. I don't. I had some minor insulin resistance that I self diagnosed through doing a 7-day carb test. And I know what I felt for a long time. But isn't that the point? The same way that doing the autoimmune protocol is the point in like putting a disease in remission, wouldn't using diets are tools. And I know I've said that over and over and over again, but the internet is such a weird place where like the nuances are completely lost. But that's the most important part of nutrition. So I just wanted to share this because I guess the moral of the story is if something stopped working for you, it's okay to say, this isn't working for me anymore. Let me try something else. And my only advice is to stick to whole foods because I still eat and cook from my cookbooks because they're whole, real foods. I could just add a starchy vegetable to my low carb recipes on the side, and it's a perfectly healthy dish. The basis of my cooking is still in nutrient density, lots of color, lots of vegetables, like healthy, really healthy spices and herbs. So stick to whole foods. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go eat pizza and fast food every day, but you know, I'm just kind of going with an intuitive approach while still avoiding my trigger foods. So I'm not flaring my autoimmune disease. I don't have joint pain. I don't have fatigue. I don't have brain fog. And I feel good. And my skin is clear and my hair is thick and full and I'm sleeping great. So my focus is cortisol, reducing cortisol. And I had to really face music with that and acknowledge that some of the things I was doing in the pursuit of fitness were working against me. And, I'll do this for as long as I have to. And then if maybe in the future I feel like I've got it in me to do more hit or to dabble in fasting again, maybe I will. But for now, I'm just coasting. And I've been doing this for about, a few months now. And I haven't really talked about it before because, sometimes I don't like to share things. I didn't want to share it right away in case I did react and it took a while for things to happen. So I was kind of waiting. Um, you know, I was waiting, looking at my ring thing. Someone's at the doorbell. Um, to see what would happen. I didn't want to speak too soon, and then, ooh, So I feel pretty good about it right now, and I will also embed this video in on my blog page with links. Um, I do have blog posts about what is AIP, how to do keto dairy free, how to carb cycle, what are hunger hormones. So all these questions you might have gotten from watching this video. Um, Also how stress affects your endocrine system. So I have a lot of resources on the blog. So um, I'll share those in the notes as well. So anyway, hope this was helpful. Sorry if I rambled a bit. And yeah, comment below. Let me know what you think.